Welcome back, everyone, to Light Talk, where the paranormal and the supernatural is a part of our daily lives. And if you have a story you would like to share, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And after you click on those buttons, check out lighttalkwithdana.com and check out what's coming up in the events, future events, and set up your own interview with me. And while you're at it, set up your own personal card reads or photo reads. So let's get started for today. And I'm so excited. This is going to be such a blast. I'm stoked about this one. So we're going to get started. So go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll
Yeah.
start. Thanks. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. Well, first, Dana, thank you for curating an atmosphere for people like myself and others to not just share their stories, but give key insights into the greater reality. So I want to say thank you first and foremost to you and your audience. Secondly, I am Krys, or Chief Spiritual Leader, Krys Rael, the founder of Cosmic Frequency. And my work is designed to create a space for people to advance along the journey without getting caught up in all the new age and spiritual propaganda, as I like to say. So I teach people ether physics and the nuances and the deeper levels of reality. I feel like it's one of those things where if it's kind of like if you don't have the blueprint, you don't really know what you're doing. So it's like, can you imagine just getting into your car but not really knowing how to drive? I show people how to drive energetically and spiritually so that they can be more astute and sound in their lives. So, yeah.
Awesome. Sounds like something I can use. So let's do. Uh, yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get started with some of your experiences. And I know this is just going to go off in some wild ride today. So I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, same. So I just jogged my memory here. Did we want to dive into the Sasquatch stuff, or should I go cosmic for day one? Because I know we're gonna do multiple talks.
Yes. Yes, Sasquatch was first.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So, man, where to begin? So I think it's important for people to know that the work that I do requires me to be in different um, states of mind, different modes of thinking, right? I don't operate in the traditional sense. I'm not just a healer who's working with the chakra centers and like archangels. That's not my wheelhouse. I think everything has its place and time, but the work I do is very nuanced and it's very specific to give real tangible experience for people. So I say that because what makes that so unique is that it's allowed me to be a part of paranormal or supernatural events that people would assume need to be more mystical, more airy fairy. And it's just not true. What I find with especially my forest friend or the forest friend Sasquatch or Bigfoot is often they are much more, well, they are more real and more tangible than 98, 99% of all the new age stuff because they have and do interact with people physically in like an everyday ho hum real way. So I found this out whenever I was young. My brother and I were driving. We were in the car. Our parents were driving, and We saw being run across the road, but only the headlights were shining on like the legs, and they were these big furry legs. We saw them run across the road, and then we jokingly were like, "Oh, we think that was Bigfoot." And here I am, over 2 decades later, realizing that only me and my brother saw that being, and then also it was something that was guiding me and a part of my spiritual experiences this whole time. So that was my first introduction to Sasquatch and their supernatural abilities or phase shifting capabilities. So I'm gonna start there.
Sounds great. Sounds awesome. So go ahead.
Yeah, should I
Yeah.
just continue with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yes. So um, nowadays I practice something called ether phase shifting, and this is the ability, some call it supernatural, whatever, but uh, it's the it's the ability to become invisible, essentially, or another fancy word is demolecular transfiguration, which is literally the art of dissolving your molecules and moving, transfiguring your consciousness. Now, this may sound really convoluted, but it is something that Sasquatch are really good at. And ironically enough, they're the ones who are teaching me and helping me understand these capabilities. Now, what do I mean by that? Um, Once I kind of regroup my consciousness on the validity of them, being able to do things like teleport, being able to project their voices um, without being seen. You could be in the woods and then you just hear something and it's like, well, that's not a cat, dog, it's not a bird, it's not a, whatever. I've learned that through meditation that I can connect with them. Um, just not too long ago, I was out in the woods and I had been hanging out with my kiddos for a little bit. They went away. I started to walk. This was just like last week actually. And I heard this, like, it wasn't a chirp, this call, if you will. And prior to this experience, me and my daughters were talking about Sasquatch, and they were like, "Well, I think the one that we were experiencing was like a girl," and I was like, "Maybe, I don't know." So I hear this voice right as I'm walking, once everyone else is gone, and it's and I say, "Hello, friend, are you there?" And then it does it again, and I have it recorded, and it isn't this loud growling like roar noise. It's a very uh, gentle but also humanesque sound.
Hmm.
Now, mind you, it was evening, so there wasn't a lot of birds around. It wasn't early in the day, so there wasn't a lot of activity. It was when nature was starting to go to sleep, if you will, when I heard this chirp or this vocalization. So the cool thing is, I heard it a couple times before I pressed record. I ignored it. I was walking. I was like, because I'm an open skeptic, right? So I like to challenge things before I just fully accept, like, oh, that was this. It's like I have to allow there to be verification, if you will, to accept that it is a supernatural event. So
Mhm.
I continue to walk, and it makes the sound two or three, no, 3 to 4 times before I actually stop, turn around, and then hit record. And once I hit record, it had stopped. Nothing, it was done. That's it.
Right.
So that was that experience just a couple of days ago. Yeah. Yeah. And you go through your mind, you go through these experiences and you try to check off the boxes because, as we talked about in our first conversation, the brain is used to things that are familiar. It has its categories, its labels, and its perceptions and how it's used to the world being. So if you're in the woods, you're going for a walk, you're doing something, and there's something out of the norm, your brain is going to trigger to alert you. It's a safety mechanism, essentially.
Right, right.
And what I find, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Well, what I find to be so fascinating about these Sasquatch experiences is that they um, they continually are in that category of catching your attention with something that you either have never seen or experienced before, but it does something to your consciousness that you have to stop and you have to ask deeper questions, you know? So that evening, went inside, was having dinner, and I think I was just explaining to everyone, and showing them oh yeah, I was showing them the video, and they were hearing the sounds. We were trying to discuss what it was, going through all the rationales. Could it have been a bird? Could it have been a fox, a deer? All these things, and the answers were no, of course. But as we're having the conversation about Sasquatch, the dishes in the house, um, they just a couple of them just like fell over, just like fell over for no reason. Not in an aggressive, like intense, scary way, but like it was like a pot and a pan. They just kind of like they're on the dish rack and they kind of just like all fell. Now that hadn't happened the whole entire time, the whole day. It hasn't happened since. Didn't happen before,
Yeah.
So they are always around and they're always listening and they can physically interact. I think that
Hmm.
what happened in that moment, they were just saying, "Hey, yeah, that was us. We're here," you know. But I think people are so brainwashed into thinking that Sasquatch is this ape or this like big, hairy, scary thing that they don't understand the high intelligence and the spiritual aptitude of them, right? So,
Right.
they were showing us in real time, yes, that was us in the woods. Yes, this is us here now. There's no walls for them. They don't, they're showing us how to move as an energetic being. And isn't that, oh, wow, that's really crazy, right? Because you would assume that a big, huge 7, 8, 9 foot behemoth wouldn't be so unseeable. So just their presence and their capabilities allows us to broaden our minds of what's possible. And I think that is so cool. Just coming to that realization right
Yeah.
now.
I saw the light go on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
mhm,
is really cool to think of because when you do kind of think of them as big people, but I have the bit of the knowledge that they are able to do anything they want. They
mhm,
can they transform. They're shapeshifters, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
So
another thing. Yeah.
yeah. So they're a
Mhm.
lot of everything. So
Well,
why
and
not?
and that's the thing is like what I'm learning and what I'm truly physically experiencing is the unlimitedness of our being, right? You can have a form, like, yes, you pick a localized form. Maybe you want to be a human, maybe you want to be a Sasquatch, but at the end of the day, you are still pure energy. You're still pure etheric consciousness. So our limits are only truly what we believe we can or can't do. And that is clearly demonstrated by the teleportation, the psychokinesis that the Sasquatch have demonstrated. And you said shapeshifting, right? So again, demolecular transfiguration, the ability to shift your molecules into whatever you want. Um, I was again just about 2 weeks ago from now, driving, and again, it's like speaking about them, and they show up. It's like their timing is truly like boom, 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 right? It's crazy. But so I'm driving, talking to one of my kiddos, and we just get into the conversation about Sasquatch, and lo and behold, this bobcat. Now I don't think I've seen a bobcat physically, and I've been in this state for 6 years, 6, 7 years now, right? I don't think I've ever seen a bobcat, but a bobcat runs across the road in the middle of the day. Now it doesn't just run across the road; it gets to the other side and it stops and it looks and just stares at us for probably 30 seconds, maybe a minute or so. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what wild animal, especially one as rare as a bobcat, is going to stop and then look at you? It
Yeah,
doesn't logically make sense, right?
right. We drove, my dad took us camping one time and he was driving and we had a bobcat run in front of us. Those things are
Really?
huge. Yes.
Yeah.
But it just kept running. So
Hmm. Hmm.
this one here, if
Yeah.
we was close enough, we probably hit the tip of his tail. But
Mm.
yeah, it didn't stop and look at us though, that we know of because it
Right.
was really dark out. But
Right.
yeah,
Well, I just find that that was such an interesting behavior for a wild animal. I can't think. I mean, deer do that. Deer stop and they'll look, but they're kind of known for that, right? They're kind of known
right.
as the deer in the headlights.
You're right.
Bob, bobcats, birds, squirrels, none of them, bunny rabbits, they don't really stop and engage. you know? So I personally think that the fact that we were talking about Sasquatch, again, they were just showing their ability to morph and change and to really be whatever they want, and the unlimited nature of that. Um, you might have to edit this out or not, but I want to go turn on this light because the lighting is getting a little wonky because the
Okay.
sun's going down here. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Go
Okay.
ahead. I can
Yeah.
edit.
Yeah. Be right back.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if that did much, but it's okay. Um,
You're good.
okay.
You're good.
Um, but so there was that, the bobcat, the call in the woods, and then I don't remember what triggered this most recent thing, probably 3 days ago now. Um, oh, I remember what it was. So I was feeling very, just kind of, I was frustrated, right? I was frustrated with some of my work stuff, some of the things I'm trying to accomplish, and was really feeling this inner desire to like take it to the next level, right? To really step into what I'm here to do and all this stuff, right? Having this entrepreneurial kind of like moment. So I go out in the woods and I'm sitting by the water, and I intentionally call out to the water, to the stars, and then to Sasquatch and to the forest friends. And I just was in my heart very serene and heart centered with it, just like really being like, hey guys, I need some help. Like, I don't have all the answers. I need some help. So help me out no matter how you have to show up. And I kind of just left it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that evening, I went to bed and I was hearing something outside my window, right? So we have a skylight here, and then there was like all this woods over here. Now we've heard coyotes. We've actually howled with them, the call and response thing. It's really fun to do.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So the thing is, let me just kind of digress for a little bit. I'm very in tune with nature. I've gotten really, really close to the deers, the birds, the crows. So I have a very harmonious flow with the animal kingdom and just nature in general. I'm out there so much. That's important because I've also known how they interact. You know, I've seen coyotes far off in the distance. They don't want to get too close. Deer, you can get more or less, you can get closer to deer. Heard their calls, know what they sound like. So again, the brain is designed to recognize pattern and things that it's familiar with, right?
Right.
Here I am. I put out that spiritual intention to really get help from the invisible people, from the, all the beings that are here on our better behalf, and let it go. Sitting in the room, here's something outside my window, and it's this. It wasn't a howl, and it wasn't like a human like yelp. It was like in the middle, and it was off in the distance. And I was like, oh, okay, so you guys did get my message, right? And then within 5 seconds, I heard this is the part that gives me chills. It sounded like there was one single coyote outside of the right outside the window howling as loud as it could, just one. And so I jump up, I go downstairs, I get the flashlight because I'm like, oh, it's definitely got to be there. And if it's not directly right there, it's going to be off in the distance where it's going to be running away where I could see it, right?
Right.
Logically speaking.
Right.
So get the flashlight. There's nothing there. No sign, no trace, no footprints of the coyote, nothing. Also, when you hear the coyotes, there's if one starts to howl, the others are going to respond.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. So I hear this howl of the coyote right outside the window. It was so loud, but that was it. No other response, no nothing, didn't see anything. So I think that was Sasquatch just telling me, hey, I'm here. Like, I got your message. And ironically enough, since that day, I've been on this like roll with with my work,
Nice.
creating all these new things, all this excitement and enthusiasm for this new project that I'm working on. So it's absolutely amazing what they can do. Like, yeah,
That
it's
is
so cool.
so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe I heard one out in my front yard one night. So that was really
Hmm.
cool. Um, I've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
heard anything
What did
like
you
that.
hear?
Um, so I was sitting on my front deck and I live in a cul-de-sac, so it was across the street and there's a house right there, and it was in the front of that house. So we faced the back of their house. And
Hmm.
in the front of their house, I was hearing this sound of just like "Arr, arr,
Hmm.
arr," kind of up
Hmm.
and down. I mean,
That's pretty
I can't
good,
even come
Dana.
close
That's pretty good.
to what I heard, but it was pretty loud. And I know it wasn't a dog around because the dogs in our neighborhood don't bark. They're not much
Mm.
barkers. So it wasn't them. We have fox around, but it wasn't a fox. That was not a fox. I haven't even, what does fox sound like? So yeah. So it wasn't a fox. It wasn't anything I can think of. Nothing. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
going inside because I wasn't used to it at that time. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, yeah, they take us out of our comfort zone, but it's like just think about that. To have the ability to vocalize without being seen, you're really working with the invisible light spectrum and electromagnetic spectrum. So it's like when you really just stop to think about it, how are they able to do that? It really helps you understand the malleability or the plasticity of reality, you know? And I think that's part of their mission. One part is to help us awaken to that. And you can, I mean, I've connected with, I mean, they've shown me images of them in my mind. I haven't seen besides as a kid and now I guess the bobcat, oh, and the footprints we didn't even talk about that. There
Oh
were
yeah.
those.
Yeah. Yeah. We can get to it.
Yeah. But besides that, I had, I haven't seen like a face or anything like that. It's a lot of it has been this distant, audible or energetic teaching, and I think um it's funny because my daughter drew me a picture for my birthday and it's like of Sasquatch. So like they've just become part of the understanding now of our lives. And I think that's just a micro realization of what the bigger intention is that humans in general become more comfortable with other beings, with a
Yeah.
broader range of experiences and a broader range of interaction. I think yeah, that feels very important to say that
Yeah. I
right
feel like
now.
I would be pretty comfortable seeing another being.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, it's like because, like you're saying, our brains are not
Hmm.
focused on that or anything. We're not trained to see it. It would kind of startle me.
Hmm.
But I would be very excited to start seeing other beings and Sasquatch and all
Yeah.
of that. I mean, I'd be so excited.
Well, I think that's a part of it too, is like they're very intelligent. They have that understanding, if I mean, for goodness sake, we've been looking at people who are anywhere from what, like 4 foot to maybe 6'3" on average, between the average human being, no matter what country, 4 foot to 6'3", in that range, all
Right.
relatively look the same. So we are
Mm-hmm.
very conditioned for a certain aesthetic, a certain gaze, a certain look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that seeing them would be innately scary. It's not that they're scary. It's that exactly what you're saying. There has to be that adjustment phase of the neurons in the brain to now accept other beings who are just as physical, but maybe look slightly different. Um,
Right.
to have true connection, to have true understanding, it has to be a slow process for humans until it's like this ripple effect. You and I are having this conversation. I know a few others who are on the same wavelength, having similar conversations. And then over time, we develop the capacity to physically interact. because I think the last thing that Sasquatch wants is to be seen as scary. At least not to the good people. To the bad people, yeah, they could be pretty intense. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was going to ask you about that because you hear people saying that they attacked them or something like this, and that's kind of
Mm,
what I was thinking too. It must have been the
mm,
the aura or the energy that person was giving off to them, and it
mm.
scared them, and then they, went to protect
Retaliated.
themselves or something. Or yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, look at it this way. Um, so here where we live, we have a wonderful wooden deck outside connected to the house, and wasps love to come over and like try to build nest every single summer, right? Anytime the weather gets warm, the wasps want to come and build nests. One of the
right,
first few years, we actually had a full-on battle and war with the wasp, spraying them, trying to knock their nest down. Some of us got stung. Like it was legit, like a tense thing. And
right.
that's of course what we're taught to do is to oppose something and try to keep what's yours. And so I realized, I said, you know what? Everything is intelligent. Everything is the source, is part of consciousness, part of God, as some would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one day I found one of these wasps in the house, and I decided I wanted to actually communicate and connect with it. And so I go over and I just kind of put my hand out. If I was going to get stung, it was going to sting me. But I wanted to see if it was inherently out of the blue for no reason going to cause harm, right? Because that's what we're taught. There's a bee, it's
Right,
going to sting you. Okay.
right.
So put my finger out. It's just crawling on my finger. I have videos of this doing absolutely nothing. You can feel kind of this, it's calm. Its antennas are chill. The wings aren't flapping. It was a beautiful experience. And so I'm just kind of telepathically emitting a frequency and communicating with it. Communication isn't like, hey, wasp, today is, it's like more of a feeling tone, right? Release it outside. That summer, they hardly built any nests. They didn't come over to
Um,
the house or anything, right? No one got stung. And it was a completely different experience to the point now, this summer, now, I mean, we're going into, we're in spring now, but this time of the year, um, there are wasps out there. There's a lot of them, but
uh-huh.
we have this harmonious, truly harmonious relationship. They build the teeniest, tiniest nests. They're not huge anymore because I've realized that nothing is inherently going, especially in the animal kingdom. I feel safe to say 95% of the time is not going to attack you just for, like shits and giggles. It's not just going to
Right.
go out of its way to cause harm, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Now, I don't believe that Sasquatch is an animal. I think it's more of a humanoid than anything. But that goes for most beings, point blank period, are not going to attack unless they truly are malevolent. And we do know there's some negative energies, but Sasquatch, I don't put in that category. I think that they're protectors of this earth realm. They're protectors of portal technology and what I call ether physics, meaning you have to be at a certain frequency to understand some of their capabilities and then for them to teach you it. And so these stories of people getting attacked and stuff, one, new age propaganda. Why? To paint a picture of these benevolent beings as these grotesque and hairy and scary creatures, right? Why?
Yeah.
Because because if you understand their capabilities, then they can start to help free your mind. So there are what I call false light narratives around Sasquatch. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who literally make up stories who are paid just to say that they are attacked by them. But then there's also the percentage of people who may have negative interactions, like you said, based on their aura, based on who knows, maybe those people are actually, up to no good. Sasquatch knows, they know way more than, about what's going on this planet than most people. So That's my take. I don't think that they're out there unconsciously attacking people.
Right. Right. I'm going to go
That's how I
back a
feel.
bit.
What about you? What do you Yeah, go ahead.
I'm, I'm going to go back a bit with the bees. Just yesterday we were outside and we had a bee that was like buzzing around the backside of my car, and it started to try to get into the back of it. And I was like, just talking to it. I'm like, hey, you can't park there. You can't. Um, that's not a place for you. You need to find somewhere else. And when I say that, it goes off.
Yeah.
And then it'd come back, and I'm like, no, no, you need to find somewhere else for your nest. That's not for you. And it'd
Mm-hmm.
go off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Ah,
it's
I
really
love
cool.
and see that's the thing. It's this interconnectedness, right? It's like what separates us so much is we get so caught up in the form. Something looks different, whether it's a bee or a Sasquatch or a tree, and so we assume that we can't communicate with it. And
Right.
I think what I'm sharing here right now is really important for people to understand. It's like you are not separate just because you look different, whether it's, you have lighter skin than I do, whether you're a male or female, whether that's a tree or a cat or dog. It's the same principle that moves through everything. And it's like when you tune into that principle, you can communicate with the bee. People are like, what are you doing? That's not possible. It's like, it's very much possible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you pay attention to these animals or these other beings or these other people, even, I'm trying to stay away from the word animal because then I'm starting to see they're just other people, different forms of consciousness. But you'll find that they communicate very effectively. Their body language, the energy that they're emitting. If you just sit and watch a wasp, it'll tell you when it's happy or sad based on how its antennas moves. Like there's so much information. Um, Yeah, I was just thinking of a story about a bird that I just had just an experience just yesterday. But I know you wanted to say something about Sasquatch, a little bit about their I was asking you about whether or not you think they're inherently aggressive or not.
I don't get that feel. I get the feel like they're here to protect us, they're here
Oh,
to guide us. I think they're here as a friend. They're definitely a friend. And I think the stories that they're being attacked and everything, I think it is because either they have either shown aggression towards them,
hmm.
and they're just protecting themselves. I think they're good people. I think they're good, wonderful beings. Yeah,
Yeah.
I am.
And I also oh, I'm sorry, Dana,
I'm
go ahead. I think
sorry.
there's a little bit delay.
Yeah, there's a delay. We do some volunteer work up in the mountains, and we had a big fire a couple years ago up there, and it's amazing that the camp that we work at did not get burnt. All the cabins are still there, the main lodge is still there, everything is still there. And I really think if it wasn't Sasquatch, it was the nature around
Mm,
there that really helped protect, along with the firefighters, of course. They
right.
did a fantastic job themselves. But I think the beings around that area really help protect it.
And when you look at movies like Fern Gully, um, Princess Mononoke, those even just using those two examples, it's depicted in the movies that there are beings, whether fairy type or Sasquatch type, whatever, that truly are protectors of nature. And in my opinion, it is nature. It is the emanation of a consciousness. So it's like in our physical bodies, we have white blood cells that will attack viruses and bacteria, right?
Right.
So we have that defense system. We can't. I've never seen a white blood cell. I don't know. I don't. I don't. Do they exist? We're told that they exist,
Right.
but for all intents and purposes, they're invisible to us, but yet there is something, we say, white blood cells that are defending and protecting the biological makeup of the human vessel. The earth itself also has that built-in defense mechanism. So I think it's very logical to not just assume, but to observe that with a fire or with some sort of disaster, whether man-made or natural, probably most of them are man-made because nature's not going to destroy itself on purpose, but nature is going to have a defense mechanism. It's going to have white blood cells. So who's to say that those white blood cells aren't beings like Sasquatch, right? Who we can't see, but are there to truly hold the purity and the crystalline structure of things. Or, whether it's fairies, there's so many beings. So I think that your story speaks to that. I think it speaks to the natural kingdom itself protecting itself from the human lens and perspective. We call it all these different things, right?
Right.
But it's the same mechanism within our body that's happening on the planet. And I think, yeah, that is a wonderful thing. That's so, so cool.
Yeah, it is so wonderful. We're going to be going up there here pretty soon to see what kind of growth has started up since, the fire.
Mhm.
But oh my goodness, it's just amazing
Yeah. Well,
that
when,
it didn't burn everything down. It's so wonderful.
yeah.
It's just
I mean,
so wonderful.
when you go up there, set the intention, have the conversation with them, with the forest beings. Like, really, I don't know, maybe bring a crystal or something and just offer that gratitude and say, hey, I know what you guys did. Thank you. Um, I am finding more so than ever in my life, whether it's me and my own consciousness and how I feel like it's expanding at an exponential rate, actually. um,
Nice.
or it's just the natural progression of observing one's reality. Either or, we get to the same result. But what I'm realizing is how alive and attentive nature is. So I'm going to share two stories and two examples of this that I think harmonize nicely with the protective element of your workspace and the ranch and everything. So over the last couple of years, I have, go out for hikes other parts of the um, state and stuff. One year I went somewhere and I found a bunch of mugwort. And I love mugwort. Ever since college, I learned that it helps you with your dreams. It's a great tea, but never really had any of it growing in the yard.
Hmm.
So um, I, just had that thought like, oh, it'd be really nice to have some mugwort just so I could go out and go get some. A couple months later, wouldn't you know, there's mugwort growing in the yard for the first time ever. If you go
Oh,
out
so
and you
cool.
look at the yard, there is so much. It literally came out of nowhere. There's so much. So that
That's
happened. And then, moving on, um, similar experience. I don't know, time is weird, but I'm just gonna say the next year, just for sake of conversation, going for another hike, totally away from the house. And we find, and when I say away from the house, it's like, an hour away. It's not like, 5 minutes down the road. It's a good distance, 60, 70, 100 miles away. Um, and on this hike, it's like wild onion garlic or garlic onion or something like that. But they're shoots and they taste like garlic and or onion, whatever. But they're really, really good. And I was like, wow, that'd be so cool if these, were growing in the yard, if I, just having that kind of thought pattern, right? Lo and behold, last summer, I'm out in the yard, and what do I see? The garlic shoots. And it's just like that, like we didn't plant those. We didn't bring any home to propagate.
yeah.
And it happened again with these but this vegetation called ramps. So I was in New York or something. Yeah, I think I was in New York and same experience. Found a bunch of ramps and now we go out in the woods, there's ramps everywhere. So it's like, how do you get from hundreds of miles away to the same exact vegetation growing in a place where it's never grown? because nature is not dead. It's literally conscious. It's so cool to me, you know? So I know I'm all hyped up, but it's like the
No.
magnitude and like the sheer like effect or impact that can have if we really understand that, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is amazing. I I just imagine like all this stuff is energy. And when you think of everything as energy, I start to see, well, not necessarily see, but understand that you can see through everything, because it's energy. I mean, it's 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 such a weird thing to comprehend as a human brain, but it's
Mm,
so cool. That with everything,
mm.
and when you think of things as being energy, that we can, like you're saying, we can go disappear if we want. We can do this. We can do anything we want. We can be whatever we want. It's just so cool.
It's very cool.
I
Yeah.
This whole topic, it makes me speechless so many
Yeah.
times that because there's no word to explain how the awesomeness of it is.
Yeah.
It's
It's yeah. And it really is this speechless, grounded, yet expanded awareness and really freedom. For me, the word is total freedom. But within that freedom, there's this serenity that I feel. It's like knowing that you can be anything, but then you can also just be nothing. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be anything, but you can be whatever you want. So it's like it's such a powerful, powerful state of being. And it's like the more that we realize that, the more that again other beings who are already at that frequency, already in those thinking patterns, start to show up. Hence Sasquatch. I truly believe that there is a mass cover up with Bigfoot and other beings for this very reason, because whoever we want to call them, whatever, let's just say the bad guys, they're not interested in humans being free. They're interested in keeping people very limited to a certain bandwidth of consciousness. And so they have to ostracize all these other things. And then we call all these other things supernatural, when really they are what? Just nature, just natural. They're just natural. But we see them as supernatural because we've been, you know, um, boxed into a very limited scope of perception. And I think a lot of the work I do, the work that you're doing, the Sasquatch beings, we're helping people see that there is no fine line, there is no box. It's just a matter of what you think is or is not possible, and then how much you actually practice said skill or ability. I mean, I know I've had some interesting metaphysical experiences, but even myself, I'm still learning how to master a lot of these higher end functions. And I think that's part of what it means to be a soul, is that you grow, and growth isn't always overcoming your trauma. Yes, that's a part of it, but also it's also maneuvering through reality differently too. I think that's just equally as important as any other inner work or spiritual work, is like really learning how to work with consciousness and energy. That's what gets me going. That's what excites me. And that's why I love um, communicating with Sasquatch and even the ETs and everything, because it's like, that's their life, man. That they love doing that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's so amazing because I'm working on that. Just what you're saying there. In fact, today I did a lot of work with that.
Mm,
I went through periods of tough times, and I just started breathing deep. I'm setting an intention of my inhale and intentions of my exhale, and I really noticed the difference of my heart beating.
yeah,
It wasn't racing, it calmed down, it just relaxed, and I felt better.
yeah,
My whole being just felt better.
There's there's a very real physiological spirituality. I call it holistic spirituality. Most of us are taught, especially in the New Age movements, a very ungrounded and really undisciplined way of energetic mechanics. But what you're talking about is recognizing the breath, recognizing how that impacts the heart. That's very spiritual. In fact, knowing and working with energy in that way, or through I teach something called Jin Shin Do or Qigong, that to me is the tangibility that we need to be cultivating. We don't need to stay in our minds so much. We got to be able to comprehend, like you said, when I breathe this way, what happens?
Mhm.
Just the other day I learned, I've been using mudras for 15 years, but I just learned something new about them. Apparently, when you do this mudra and you hold your hands down like this, your breath is localized in a different portion of your body than it is when you do this.
Oh,
And I can feel it. And I was like, oh my God. So I guess when you do this, it's more localized, if I'm remembering correctly,
right.
to the diaphragm, right? When you turn it down like this, it's more, I'm sorry, this is belly, this is more chest and diaphragm. And you can feel these changes in your body.
Mm.
And so it's like these subtle nuances. I'm like, wow, this stuff is so important. So I love the fact that you are um working on that, because through there, then the other functions and abilities become they start to unfold naturally. You don't have to chase them. You don't have to reach for them. The more that we work on ourselves in that way, the more that your body is calm, the calmer your body is, the clearer your mind is. The clearer your mind is, the more information and consciousness you can interact with. So it's a beautiful, yeah, truly enlightening process.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Did you
so
hear
much
that?
to learn.
Sorry.
Oh, no,
Um,
you're fine.
okay. Um, I wanted to share a story about a bird that happened the other day.
Go for it.
That okay. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're good for time. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes or so. So we've got a
Oh,
little time.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so this just goes back to like understanding the interconnectedness. I think Sasquatch is trying to help us understand. Um, a couple of days ago, the cats got a bird, and it was dark out. I couldn't see what kind of bird it was. Felt really bad. At the same time, I was like, it's kind of what they do. It's not anything I can really do for the bird. My kiddo ran out and tried to scare the cat, our cat away. She didn't. So the next day, I wake up, go out to do meditation. The second I step outside, now listen, I hear birds all the time. Like I'm always in tune with nature. I've even developed a theory that birds in their song in the morning send vibrations through the atmosphere and through the ground and the earth that literally wake things up. It's like it's this symbiotic
Oh.
partnership. But that's a whole other um, theory and dissertation.
Yeah.
But I go out and I'm hearing this bird, and it's like right in this tree, right next to the deck, and I'm like, "What is going on? Like, what's up, man? Like, how can I help you?" Not really getting any clarity, but it seemed like it really, really wanted my attention, right?
Right.
So I go and I sit down, do my meditation, and it follows me and is chirping into the tree net right next to me. So much so that I open my eyes. I'm like just looking at it, like, what? Like I don't understand. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
So I go into this space of what I call um, etheric listening or true listening, and I'm not listening with my ears. I'm allowing the vibrations, the frequency tone of the bird's vocal cords to permeate my aura, and allowing my body's technology, the brain, to do what it does, which is translate it. Because I don't know what it's saying. I don't speak
Right.
bird in that way, but we all
Right.
speak vibration, right?
Right.
So sitting there, letting the process take place, and I get this kind of urgency and kind of this like overwhelm feeling. I don't know what for. I decide to stand up, walk out of the meditation spot, take a few steps. As I take a few steps, I look down, and there is this dead bird on the ground. And I'm like, oh man, this must be the bird that the cats got last night. Mind you, I'm still hearing the chirping of the bird from, you know, and then something clicks. I look at the bird on the ground, look at the bird in the tree, double take one more time. They are the same species. They were the same species. So the bird in the tree was it was like another, it was the same species as the bird that was killed. So what I feel that bird was telling me was like, hey, one of ours is, got hurt or got injured or passed on, And I'm like, oh, I get it. I understand. And I am saying telepathically, but also with my voice, and I say like, wow, thank you for sharing that with me. Like, I'm sorry for your loss. But it kept chirping, it kept talking, and I'm like, okay, that's not what it needs. And so I go a little bit deeper into my heart. I really start to listen. So it was feeling pain. Now, we may not translate this, most humans may not translate this moment other than a bird making a lot of noise. But for me, I felt something, right? And it was pain. And I felt it. And I said, oh, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge what you're feeling, and like how seeing one of your dead, maybe relatives, may be
Right.
impacting you, infecting you. And it was the moment I said, I acknowledge you, I see you, stop chirping, flew off. Like,
Mm,
it makes me emotional to a degree, because it's like,
yeah.
we are so disconnected. And how many times do we experience moments like that, but we don't have the awareness to actually capture and like be present.
Yeah.
It was really
Yeah.
powerful. That was really powerful
Yeah.
experience for me, actually.
I do the same thing. I go into work, and right next to our door we have this big tree, and there's birds all the time. Well, I shouldn't say all the time, but every once in a while there's a bird over there, and they'll be chirping away on my way in, and I'll stand there for a second and say, "Hey, how are ya? How you doing? Good morning."
Hmm.
Yeah, just talking
Hmm.
to the animals. I mean, like the rabbits,
Yeah.
the rabbits, I'll just say, "Hey," you know,
Hmm.
try to talk to them a little
Yeah.
bit too.
Yeah. Everything. I mean,
Yeah.
plants. And I truly believe the more conscious you become, the more alive things become. The more real and connected you feel, because you're now not just associating yourself as like, I'm this individualized, localized ego self. You now realize the intrinsic nature of energy. Like you're saying, everything is energy.
Mhm.
So, did that bird see me as a human being, or did it see me as an energy form that was conscious and just trying to say, hey, one of my homies got, hurt last night. I feel
Yeah,
sad,
right,
you know?
right. Yeah, yeah, I get that. And I was like, yesterday when my was watching the bee and everything, my husband gets out the wasp spray and everything. I go, "Oh, don't worry about that. I'm catching myself doing this now." It's like,
Mm,
no, no, no. Let's I'm talking
mhm,
to him. He's gonna leave.
mhm.
He's not gonna sit here. So it's like I'm sitting here. Okay, don't do that. And I caught myself with
Yeah.
the spider down in the basement. Typically I would just take care of it, be done. But now
Mhm,
it's like,
mhm.
okay, you must need some sort of protection or something right now. Or, I know there's a reason for you to
Yeah.
be here. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so different.
It's
It's so cool.
it's such a different, and like, to bring this full circle, like when I really started to connect with Sasquatch energy, this has been the greatest awakening from connecting with them. This true intrinsic connection we have with things. Um, whether it is the spider, I'm not afraid of spiders anymore. I was holding a snake the other day because it was just like, like there's nothing to be afraid of when you approach nature with confidence. Most of the time, if you're not being an a-hole, it's gonna respect you. It's gonna interact. That doesn't mean like you go and hug a porcupine. No, don't be silly about it. But
Right.
have a level of confidence in your own energy, and beings respond to that. Um, most things you can remedy simply through energy, through telepathic communication. Now, if you have some sort of infestation, whatever, yeah, take care of it the way you need to. But also, there's so much I go into about that because I'm like, well, why would people be in that situation anyways? What's going on in their mind that they're creating a situation where there's this infestation in their house? That's a whole other topic. Um, just last night, I was in the kitchen, had my laptop, doing some work on the computer, hadn't really cleaned up from dinner yet. Everyone else is sleeping. This one single ant comes up and crawls up on the computer. Just one single ant. Okay. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, hey, what's up? So I take it, put it back down on the floor. 5 minutes later, comes back. Same ant. I'm like, what's up? Are you hungry? So I put it down on I put it down on a chair next to me, and I give it like a piece of, I think it was a French fry or something. And it stays over there for a little bit. And then it climbs right back up on the table. And he just wants to hang out, you know. And it's funny because it's so small, right? But it's like the energy's so big. And again, maybe this is just how I'm interpreting reality now. But I feel like everything really can talk to you if we have the ears and the compassion, the heart to listen. I think that's the biggest message of Sasquatch, is like it's not just about humans. There's other beings here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And, when I was up at this camp, I got pictures of these trees, or this tree that was fallen down. And I keep, I couldn't tell you if it was actually like pushed down or if it was the wind that blew it down, but there's something about this tree that caught my attention. And
Hmm.
it was like, there's something different about this. So that makes
Hmm.
me think it was that um, Sasquatch. And
Yeah,
so I got some
yeah.
pictures of it. I think I sent them to you.
You
Um,
did, you did. And yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so it was like on the one side of it, there's like a branch that was intertwined through them. And it's like, well, that's not right.
Yeah, like have you ever had the thought, or do you know anyone who knows anyone who knows anyone who's ever had the thought of like, let me intertwine these branches, and like that's not a normal thought that we have. So that was a
Right.
clear message. It was a clear, hey, we're here, right? Like, you know, I know we're running out of time, but I want to talk about the footprints really quickly.
Yeah, go
Um,
for it.
yeah, so this will be the last thing. So about a week ago, going for a hike again, early morning, thinking to myself, man, it'd be really nice to see Sasquatch footprints because I haven't, I had never seen them.
Hmm.
And as I'm walking, I look down, and lo and behold, there is a footprint. I'm not even kidding. I have the pictures. You can see the toes, at least some of them, and they're spread out, and there's like a section of them. The funny thing is, though, as I was walking, more of them started to show up. Like literally, like I look and then look. I'm like, oh, that wasn't there just literally 3 seconds ago. And then within each of the prints, there was a leaf, which I found really really interesting because one, if you're walking in the woods and you're walking barefoot, you're going to step on things, yada yada yada. But what are the chances that every single you take a leaf in the footpath, right? Even
Right.
if it was someone who's walking through the woods, the same logic applies. What are the chances that there's going to be an indentation within half an inch to 2 inches in the ground, about this thick, right? But then
Hmm.
also within that indentation, a leaf is going to be placed in it. That's just not. And the leaf wasn't crunched; it was placed in after, right?
Receiving a gift is there's a message in that
Mm,
for ever life, ever living. With it being like a green leaf, um, that lets me know that they're loving you. It was
mm,
a gift of love, and
mm.
they were they're always there for you. That's what I'm getting right
Awesome.
now. That they're giving you the sign that they're always with you, and the love, they're
Mm.
very grateful for you.
Well, thank you, because
Mm.
I was feeling that, and I didn't want to be too zealous about it, but yeah, I did feel that. I was like, this is not just a this is a deeper message than just the footprints, you know. And I mean, I got to go back and look at the videos and the pictures, but it was very clear. It was the footprint and then the leaf, and I was like, that's so funny. So then I bring out so then I go back in sometime later, and I bring the girls out. I'm like, I got to show you these footprints. Now, the trail that I was walking on, I didn't see the footprints until a good ways down into the trail. There was nothing at the beginning of the trail. So as I bring the girls out, and my middle daughter, she loves moss, right? So
Mhm.
as I bring them out, we see a footprint on the moss part of the trail at the beginning. And I'm like, that was not here the first time. And then the same process started to happen. They started to show up as we were in the space. And so
Mhm.
um absolutely surreal, absolutely mind-bending, grounding, enlightening, heartwarming, transformational experiences with the Sasquatch. And I want to say thank you all, because I know you guys are, I know you're listening, I know you're here with us, with me and Dana. Um, so thank you. We love you all very much, and we're gonna do our best to do what we can in this realm, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I so appreciate you being with us today to talk about this, because I've had a thrill talking with you. And I know we haven't even touched on things. I know when we spoke before, we have so much in common that we have so much to talk about. And so
Yeah.
I know we already have another Zoom set up to talk again. So you will be coming back. But and I'm so
Yeah.
excited for that. Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
know. Um but yeah, so thank you so much for being here today and talking about the Sasquatch and energy within the nature of life. And I love that. That was beautiful.
Yeah, this was a
Absolutely.
great conversation. Yeah, I think it'd be
Mhm.
really good for people. Excited to dive into the stars next time for the next Zoom, but today was very grounding. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful conversation. Thank you, Dana. I
I
appreciate it
love
so
it.
much.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
I appreciate you being with us. Thank you. Thank you.
you're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
So,
Yeah.
if
Bye, everyone.
any, what was that?
Oh, go ahead. You finish. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just going to close out. So, okay. If anyone out there has your stories to tell, again, email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And after you click on those, visit my website at www.lighttalkwithdana.com. And we will talk with everyone later. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye, everyone.